Creation's Journey to Life, Day 76, Stopping the Mind in the Flesh, Part 2. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the evolution of the seed and egg of man is a process of accumulation focused on the survival of the fittest, instead of the perfection of man to what is best for all life, which through generations has emphasized the inhumane energetic part of man through distorting the living word as flesh into a knowledge design that emphasizes the meaning of words to justify the development of survival instinct, developing in the process a human race motivated by lack and fear. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the outer world knowledge system is the inner knowledge system, transferred from generation to generation, emphasizing the illusion as personality ego, as if it is the only value worth developing, causing a brutal commercialized view of life, which within this process over time diminished the human capacity of common sense to be completely controlled by numbers for profit and control, where life has been equalized to be only a number in the statistical data. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that through reducing life to be only equal to numbers as data, the benefit of mathematics to be a tool to manage life effectively has been contaminated in its understanding, to become a tool with which man's greed and inhumanity within the context of survival can be manipulated with ease, as all that chase profit in self-interest speaks the same language, namely that of self-interest, and therefore all that accept the current world system within the context of self-interest are in a oneness agreement of support to only support each other's drive to self-interest, and that all side effects of this self-interested ecosystem of economics, like the poor or starving, are but data showing what part of the human race are too weak for the system of self-interest, and must therefore be discarded as data that is essentially worthless, but for the opportunities of profits through NGOs or charitable organizations. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that all religions and spiritual organizations have all been incorporated into the body of the self-interested human nature, assisting in the justification and development of complete acceptance of the evolving, inhumane self-interested human ego, adjusting knowledge to fit the picture and developing ways and means to ostracize anyone or group that dare question the new morality of the self-interested evolved human. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that all this mentioned has become the living flesh, as the mind invaded the flesh to conquer it and enslave it to the energy of profit and loss in all the many dimensions that it exists, creating a human race in constant fear of loss, fearing what would happen if the energy of self-interest no longer exists. In this ensuring the complete participation and submission of the human race, noteworthy here is that the profit of self-interest does not only represent physical money, but also any emotional or feeling profit derived from the system. For example, love in all its various examples of existence, and knowledge in all its layers of light of glorification. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the actual control of the mind is in the human living flesh, as the various ways of memory from parental DNA to the memory transferred through education and media, and the ever-evolving search for self-interested profit, and that this control is as close to absolute as long as the system keeps providing proof for success through constant feedback of goods as the measurement of goodness and entertainment, to provide the good feelings, having, for instance, the entertainment media to provide scenes of violence so extensive that the human ego feels good in comparison to it, and scenes of sex that the human ego is also always searching and trying to create these sexual fantasies in their lives, providing a backdrop of complete integrated submission to the system with full parental agreement, making sure that each new generation will be guaranteed submissive to the system, accepting it in its completion as the way it is. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the backchat in the mind generated by the programmed flesh will continuously drive the competition to evolve the self-interested drive to self-profit in the many ways it has been accepted, and that this inner voice is emphasized to be trusted through spiritual means, making spirituality and religion the perfect partner to the evolution of the mind in the flesh, to a complete package of self-interest that damns life in every way to be just data in the most inhumane ways. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the programming into the flesh of this current human race existence happened over time in this lifetime and through generational transfer to create the illusion that this is the only way the human can exist, trapping all of humanity in this, in a complete self-created prison, making breaking free impossible, because the idea is created that anything that will take time to create it must be a lie, as the system creates feelings and profit virtually instantly. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that only those that are willing to put in equal time to stop the mind in the flesh will be able to eventually create the flesh as the doorway to eternal life, and as such, time is the way, and the prison, and the test that will ensure that only life will be born from the physical, and at last the universe will be purified from all abuse and self-interest. I commit myself to show that evolution is not the way of magic. It is an accumulation of choices and decisions and attention over time that creates an illusion of righteousness that enslaved life for many generations. I commit myself to show that words of knowledge are always embedded with the drive to self-interest and not with life, and that this is one of the keys where life will be found eventually, but by those that dare to give up the programmed self-interest through the effort through time, and those that will put in the time to recreate self as life. I commit myself to show that all are equal in time with the opportunity to self-honesty through which life may be found eventually, and dare those ready to stop themselves as the living flesh mind and to join the journey to life. I commit myself to show that the human existence is now only an existence as data in constant competition, deceiving each other to be able to win and get the upper hand, no matter what. I commit myself to show that even divinity, spirituality, and religion in all its forms are but extensions to justify the system of control to make sure the human remains the perfect energy resource as it was intended. Study the destiny material to understand the intent of the original creator. I commit myself to show that the human race is a species divided and conquered without any idea that this is the perfect slave race turning on each other at any opportunity, never to see life again, unless change happens, which is unlikely as it is locked in time to be the most arduous and difficult journey ever to be undertook. I commit myself to show that consciousness is the encirclement of self with self-interest, where one will only see what is in the circle and what one is willing to add to the circle of possession as consciousness, making it impossible to ever see all that is here, as consciousness is the best self-created prison ever developed.